Hey, I want to share one of my very favorite Mexican recipes. This is a Carne Oaxaca or chili verde, which is a recipe that I was one of my very favorite foods when I used to I used to actually work down in Mexico during the winters, and I spent some time in southern Mexico, and I fell in love with the food down there because they in southern Mexico, rather than the red sauces you see up in the northern regions, they use a lot of the green. Instead of tomatoes, tomatillos are common in the food, and it's incredible. And so I thought I'd go through. There's going to be no video on this. I'm going to have. I took photographs of each step as I went along, and I'm just going to narrate the photographs. I didn't have anybody to hold the camera for me. And this meal is easy. It's pathetically easy. Even the worst cooks, you can't mess it up. It doesn't matter if you accidentally double ingredients or halve ingredients or whatever. It's always good. And remember, adjust everything to your own tastes. So enjoy. The first ingredient for this is the meat. Now, traditionally, this is made with pork. I like to buy the boneless pork spare ribs, and which I'll usually buy about a third more than I need because these are really fatty. And what I'll do is trim off all the excess fat. Although leaving a lot of fat on this, I think makes it better. But if you prefer leaner meat, please go for that. You can also use beef. I've made some pretty good versions of this with beef. And I've never tried it with chicken, but I'm sure that would work as well. So, yeah, so this recipe, this is going to call for approximately 2 pounds of meat. So the meat is first cut up into cubes. I try to cut up into a little bit, approximately 1 to 1.5 inch cubes, basically. You want to try to keep the pieces of meat more or less equal in size. And again, I trim off excess fat. I leave a little, but you really don't have to. Next ingredient are tomatillos. Now you can get these canned, which I prefer. I suppose you could do it with fresh tomatillos, but I really have no idea how long to cook those. I imagine it would be different. So for this recipe, it's canned. A good rule of thumb is to try to get at least about 24 ounces of canned tomatillos per pound of meat you're cooking. That's pretty rough estimate. It's better to do a little more than less than that. For cilantro, try to pick a good bundle. I like a good, healthy, big bundle with minimally 4-inch long stems before the leaf starts. You'll see sometimes you'll buy wimpy bundles at the store where they're just small and scraggly. If you do that, get a couple of them. The next one you want, I try to get serrano peppers. They're the best, really the best for this. When I make it for my family, I use 1 serrano diced up. Typically, you'd want to use 2. My family doesn't like it hot. I make it a little milder for for my family's tastes. But you could use even more than 2 if you so prefer. Now the spices. For this, you're going to want cumin. Is probably the most important spice. I like to grind my own as I use it, simply so it doesn't lose flavor. But either way, you're going to want about 3 tablespoons of ground cumin. You're also going to need about a heaping teaspoon of cayenne pepper, red pepper. You're also going to need, I don't have it shown here, about 2 tablespoons of oregano. And finally, salt. I prefer to use kosher salt or sea salt as opposed to iodized table salt. One ingredient that's also important that I completely forgot and didn't have is pickled Nopalitos. These are the prickly pear cactus. You can buy them at most grocery stores. You want about 2 cups of those for this. Now to start putting it all together. The first thing I do is I heat up some oil in a pan till it's fairly hot, and then I add the cubes of pork to it. Now to this, I will put in about a tablespoon of the cumin, as well as about half of the cayenne pepper. I'll stir this until the meat is browned on the outside. While the meat is browning, you take the tomatillos and strain the excess liquid off of them and put them in a blender. What I do when I blend these is to use the chop function if you have a multi-speed blender. The goal is not to liquefy them. You want to leave substantial sized pieces of tomatillo intact in this. At this point in time, it's a really good time to add the rest of the cumin as well as the cayenne pepper. and the oregano, and I just blend it just barely enough to mix it. Again, you don't want to liquefy the tomatillos. Next, remove the insides of the serrano peppers and chop the stems off of the cilantro and dice them both. Next, you add the tomatillos as well as the vegetables to the mix and any remaining spices you have. Give it a good stir, and I bring it to a boil, and then I turn it way down to let it simmer. After about an hour of simmering, I will do the taste test on it and determine if it needs more cayenne or needs more cumin, if it needs salt added to it. Again, you flavor it to your own tastes. Now with pork, I let it simmer for about an hour and a half. You want to adjust that depending on how you're cooking it, how hot you're cooking it. You want to check it and stir it often. If it burns to the bottom, it ruins it. It tastes like crap. So you want to make sure it's not burning to the bottom. Keep it stirred. The goal is you're going to simmer it until you can easily cut the meat with, just your stirring spoon can be cut. You want the meat to be soft. I serve this with warmed flour tortillas. Now, some people like to roll this up into a burrito type thing. The way I first saw this being eaten and the way I still do it is to tear the tortillas up and use pieces of tortilla to pick up the meat with and eat it that way with your hands. But however you like it, it's good. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks.